first became governor of South Dakota in January of 2019, I immediately introduced a bill into our legislative session that would have required more civics and history in our classrooms. I felt that our children really did not understand the gift that they had been given being born in this great country. It was Republicans that killed that legislation. They felt that it would be too much of a hardship to change the curriculum that had already been established. They didn't want to divert the time and energy away from other studies that the teachers and the administration may deem more important. Some Republicans voted against it just to oppose me. They had wanted somebody else to be governor. They were more interested in fighting me or not rocking the boat with the teachers union that they weren't even focusing on our children, the next generation. Now, 2 short years later, CRT has infiltrated our nation's schools and parents are rising up to fight for their kids. These very same legislators have now joined with me to pass legislation banning CRT, and they support teaching true American history in our classrooms. When it comes to putting the hard work in to govern, at times the Republican Party has refused to. Instead of educating the public, people talk in sound bites. Instead of listening to debate, we shout each other down or we jump on Twitter. Instead of thinking about the long-term consequences of our actions, we get worried about the next election. Now, during the pandemic, I found I couldn't just make decisions for my people. I needed to explain to them why I was making the decisions that I was making. I held a whole press conference one time on the Constitution, what power it gave the federal government, to myself as governor, but more importantly, the power that it gave to them, the people. I gave a press conference once on our state motto, which is "Under God, the people rule." I even gave a press conference on the need for perspective, encouraging people to shut off the TV and to go for a walk. People need leaders who are willing to spend hours researching, studying, working, and communicating on issues that are important to our families. When I was first elected to the legislature years ago, I had a neighbor give me some advice that I have never forgotten to this day. He said, "Kristi, remember, every day you are in legislative session, our way of life is in jeopardy." And his message was clear. What we do matters. What we don't do matters. What we say matters. Every bill that is introduced in South Dakota in my administration during legislative session has to go through a bill analysis by our staff. On this analysis, there are several questions that must be answered. What will happen if this bill becomes law? What will happen if this bill doesn't become law? How much will this bill cost the taxpayers if it's enacted? The answers to these questions give me information I need to decide whether I want to support the bill or sign it should it make it to my desk. The very last question on that bill analysis form says, what will be the impact of this legislation on the next generation? You see, I don't think that what we will do, that it should only think about what the consequences are a week from now or a year from now. I want to know what the long-term consequences are for the next 10, 15, 20 years. We must know the precedent that we are setting with each policy we embrace and what the impact on our kids and our grandkids will be. While our actions as leaders are far-reaching, so are the words that we use. The way we talk to each other has consequences. My advice to the Republican Party is to get over yourself. We all have people in our lives that we've stopped talking to. We have been offended by them, or we believe that they're too far on the other end of the political spectrum from us, that there's no sense in wasting words, even speaking to them. And we need to get over ourselves and start by listening. No one feels like anyone listens to them anymore. Listen carefully, ask questions, build a relationship. When I first married my husband, there were some members of his family that were Democrats. Today, most are registered Republicans. This did not happen because I blew them up at the Thanksgiving Day dinner table. It happened because we built a relationship, asked questions, talked, loved each other. And we found that we had much more in common than not. If we do not do this as a Republican Party, we are missing an opportunity to restore America to what its founders intended, a nation of free men and women. If Ronald Reagan were leading the Republican Party today, there would be some who would say he is way too conservative for our times. There would be other Republicans who would attack him for being willing to work across the aisle to fix problems and to make progress. The Republican Party is the answer to the challenges of today, but only if we remain true to our principles and to follow through on our promises to the people. And we must convey our message in a way that brings hope. Our world is desperate for optimism. And Republicans, what we believe, works. It creates opportunity. It creates success and freedom for all. If we can convey that optimism successfully, we will draw people to us. We will bring hope for the future for all Americans. Listen, to close, I want to borrow some words from one last cowboy, Teddy Roosevelt. It is not in the still calm of life or the repose of a Pacific station that great characters are formed. We have seen great character at work before in our history. I come from the plains, the wide open places of purpose and possibility. But at the other end of our state, there lies the granite faces of some of the greatest: Washington, Jefferson, Roosevelt, and Lincoln. They remind us to have grit, tenacity, and values to preserve a more perfect union. Yes, we believe in great character, but I don't think it can be found in great leaders. America is bigger than our leaders. When the founders gathered in Philadelphia in 1787, they spelled out exactly where the government gets its power: the people. James Madison said in Federalist 49 that the people are the only legitimate fountain of power. If America's public servants return to that belief and embrace it and do it, then America will be free, prosperous, will be safe again. But if they don't, then we won't. What we loved about President Reagan is what our country is desperate for today: leaders who believe in the goodness of America, who see hope for its future, and who are willing to gather our resources, our will, and our courage to make it real. America is burning daylight. It is literally up to us Republicans to bring that message. It is not for us to give up. It's for us to reach deep, to get up every day and to build a country where men and women are free to think, speak, create, build, and believe. If we do this, we will call forth that strength that is the birthright of every American. We will meet the test in our time, here at home and beyond the shining sea. I know we can, and I believe that we can. So thank you, and may God continue to richly bless the United States of America. Have a wonderful day.